This podcast is part of the Some Buddies Network. You're never alone when you've got some buddies.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today we are going to battle. Well, together. We're going to battle together to conquer this episode of The Simpsons. We're talking about the secret war of Lisa Simpson, and of course, joining me, as always, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm feeling some injustice on 8-year-olds today, Miles. I feel like there's a lot of harshness going to the youngins in this episode, but we'll have plenty of time to get into that. Those mean preteens just don't know when to quit. I'm going to throw it back to you, one of the mean preteens himself, the man, the myth, the California cheeseburger. It is Miles.
I'm so excited to talk about that joke and shed some light on the propaganda that's been put out against the drugs that I love so much. We are talking about the Secret War of Lisa Simpson, which originally aired on May 18th of 1997. This episode, well, first of all, the title right off the bat is already a reference. Those clever Simpsons creators always putting little Easter eggs in their episodes. The title is actually a parody of the 1968 play The Secret War of Henry Frigg.
I honestly don't know that one.
I also had
no
never
idea.
heard of it.
And I was in theater for a long time, and I've never heard of that one. So that secret title of the secret, I don't know. Yeah, cool.
Deep cut.
Ouch.
We did have a director's commentary on this one, which featured Matt Groening, Yardley Smith, Mike Anderson, and Josh Weinstein. In true Weinstein and Oakley fashion, there was no chalk gag on this episode, and there was a recycled couch gag, which featured the Simpsons running into their living room, which was upside down, and in like a Wile E. Coyote sort of situation, it takes a second for gravity to catch up before they all pile up to the floor/ceiling below.
In cartoons, gravity never takes effect until you notice it's not in effect.
Exactly. You've got to be aware of it before it's real. It's like Freddy Krueger rules. If you don't believe in it, it doesn't have any power.
There you go.
It's time for the 4th grade field trip, and we see that instead of the box factory, they're actually going to the police station this time, which is exciting. Only when they get there at their scheduled appointment time, which seems to be 10 a.m., nobody is answering the door at the police station as Krabappel knocks.
And I love you don't know it's 10 a.m. yet, for what it's worth. Like, we just assume it's super early in the morning.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's absolutely accurate, because Wiggum actually walks up late, it would seem, because he wasn't there when the school got there. And he
After
exclaims,
hitting the curb.
Yeah, and he exclaims, "Boy, it's getting harder and harder to make it here by 10.
And he's like shaving, and he's got like his bath towel around his neck, and he's got coffee. Like, he's last minute as possible for 10 o'clock.
And right away, he's already kind of pushing off his other duties, because he tells them they're going to start the tour after he checks the answering machine. There are 75 messages, and halfway through the first one, he just deletes them all. Can anybody in this town take the law into their own hands?
And I love, too, how the key to the police station is under the front doormat.
No one would ever look there, Richie. But Wiggum has something special planned for the kids today. He's going to take them on a tour of the Museum of Crime.
Ooh.
Now, what I'm about to show you next may shock and educate you. Hold on to your values as we step through the looking glass into a hippie pop party. Flick. And the lights come on, and we can see a really shitty mannequin with a joint taped into its mouth. He's playing a guitar. While Johnny Welfare plays acid rock on a stolen guitar, his old lady has a better idea.
Flick.
And we see his stoner woman mannequin partner is about to take a bite of a baby sandwich, also known as a California cheeseburger.
She's got the munchies for a California cheeseburger.
So this is based on the urban legend that there was somebody who was taking too much acid and like thought that somebody told them to put their baby in the microwave, or they thought that they needed to microwave their baby for some reason. That is an urban legend, unverified. You can look it up on Snopes.com if you would like to source it yourself. But that was actually a really common belief. It became very widespread and almost like a witch hunt, which is basically what the war on drugs is anyway. But it was really pushed by programs like DARE, which was brought to us
Drug
by,
Abuse Resistance Education, Miles. I was brainwashed at age 5th grade.
See, Nancy Reagan had a dare for me in elementary school, and what she didn't realize is I never backed down from a dare. I may have got confused on what the actual dare was, though. But no, dare, I remember, like, they even heavily featured that in, like, their scare tactic propaganda videos. But I really do love the California cheeseburger line. I think that's really funny because so many, like, Midwest Republican types, like conservative types, I should say, would actually believe that, you know, them hippies in California are just doing drugs and eating babies.
Are you saying that the media has effect on societal views and values?
I hate that I'm about to say this, but it was fake news.
Oh, no! And we're canceled.
And I'm canceling us, actually. It's my choice here, and we're done. We're
just going to leave on that.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
All right, I'm bored. Let's talk about The Simpsons.
Okay, cool.
Back at Lisa's school, we see that Lisa's just not being stimulated at all by her educational experience. And really, while her brother is getting to, you know, go and learn from a real-life cop who seems to know everything about hippies, Lisa is stuck watching a video about sand. And it looks really old.
Miles, this video reminded me of riff tracks. Remember Cylinders? Like, this movie very much...
Cylinders, yes.
Which, when you have comedians making jokes while the movie's playing, it's hilarious. But if you were forced to watch the damn movie, no.
Yeah, it would be pretty much the worst experience. And far from educational, really just sleep-inducing.
Sand.
But it's okay, because as soon as that film ends, Miss Hoover is ready to start teaching. And by teaching, I mean putting on a different film. This time it was The Moon of Earth, made in 1952.
By the U.S. Department of Moon, which I did not know that was a department of the U.S. government, but I'm glad to have figured this out after so many years. The moon. For several years, she has fascinated many. But will man ever walk on her fertile surface?
And we cut to a shot of Adlai Stevenson at a press conference.
Democratic hopeful Adlai Stevenson says so.
I have no objection to a man walking on the moon.
By 1964, experts say man will have established 12 colonies on the moon, ideal for family vacations.
And we see a man is fishing on the moon and actually pulls out a fish from a crater while winking into the camera.
And she winks at the camera, yeah. Once there, you'll weigh only a small percentage of what you weigh on Earth.
And we see a very excited fat kid eating pie.
Slow down, Tubby. You're not on the moon yet.
Wah, wah.
He looks so upset, too.
And we see the camera pull back to reveal men in spacesuits, and they are all saying how the moon belongs to America, which I think is really funny, just with the race and all that good stuff. But we see that they superimpose an American flag over the image of the moon, just to make that loud and clear.
Miss Hoover, the movie's over.
And they realize that while the film reel just keeps running over and over, flapping, Miss Hoover has straight up left. They even notice that her car is gone from the parking lot.
Maybe she drove to the moon.
Good old Ralph. Lisa is actually upset about this, though, and she goes to talk with Skinner about needing her class to be a little bit more intellectually rigorous. It's not my nature to complain, but so far today we've had 3 movies, 2 film strips, and an hour and a half of magazine time. I just don't feel challenged.
Of course, we could make things more challenging, Lisa, but then the stupider students would be in here complaining, furrowing their brows in a vain attempt to understand the situation.
We cut back to the police station where we see the tour by Wiggum is still on. They go to the communications room, or the comm room as it's known.
Ooh, fancy words.
And Wiggum shows the children how they put their banana stickers on the radio.
That's good use of company property there.
Ooh, there's a Chiquita. But Bart notices something as the rest of the group walks through the station. There's about, I'd say like 20-something megaphones on the wall, just all up on hooks. And he just kind of hangs back for a little bit before testing. And it sounds pretty good on one megaphone, Rich, but then what if you stack 2 megaphones together? Testing.
Ooh.
So Bart, of course, gets the idea to tape as many of these as he can together. I will say real quick, according to IMDb, and if you count them as they're taped together, Bart uses 15 megaphones in a chain.
Yes.
But I swear that there were more than that on the wall when he first walks in. Maybe I miscounted, but it seemed like you could see out of frame like the handles of like an entire other row. So maybe he just thought 15 was good enough, or maybe he couldn't reach the top row. But it seemed to me like Bart would use them all if he had the opportunity.
Well, my guidebook, The Simpsons, A Complete Guide to Our Favorite Family, also says there are 15 bullhorns. Now, I tried to count when they were all hooked up, and I felt like I was at about 10, but I was barely over the halfway point on how many I could actually see. So I'm in the same boat as you, where I feel like there might have been more, but if all the sources say 15, who are we to disagree with something fact that's just been handed to us that we're not doing any research with?
Well, to be fair, I did do research. I counted, and there are 15 in the chain, confirmed. I counted that. Like, I paused the DVD and was able to count.
Okay.
What I'm saying is when he first walks in, and on the wall, I feel like there are more than 15 megaphones on the wall.
All right.
Anyway, it's not like it matters. He uses 15. He makes a big old damn noise, and he actually ends up by just saying the word testing. We see a shockwave go across the entire town of Springfield, and it literally breaks all of the glass in town, some of which has some very comedic timing and effects. We see it go by a pet shop where all of the birds inside start squawking, testing, twesting, testing. Twist. I keep putting a W in there. Testing.
I like the Professor Frink incident where the octopus tank breaks and then it wraps its tentacles around his face.
And probably the best, the big one that probably ends up getting Bart in trouble if we're being truly honest here. As Homer reaches for an ice cold Duff in the fridge, we see that he must have just recently restocked because there's a full shelf of Duff. And all of them burst as including the one that he's holding, and he starts screaming one by one as they do.
And Chief Wiggum must get Bart over there pretty darn fast.
Well, you can actually still hear there's an echo of the bullhorn, like, registering throughout the town, like just a ringing that's going on. But yeah, Wiggum actually shows up with Bart at the Simpsons' home, and they're yelling over the sound of this ringing to each other. Homer's pissed. You really did it this time, Bart! You're in for the punishment of a lifetime!
When do you expect the ringing will stop?
In about 15 seconds.
I certainly hope so.
And it actually goes out while she's talking, and in like true Marge fashion, she gets embarrassed because she's talking too loud. which is just really funny. Also, why does Wiggum know that it's going to be about 15 seconds? Like, how would he
got his top
know
people
that?
on the job.
He doesn't know that, like, Californians don't eat babies, but he knows how long glass will ring.
I mean, he's got experience. There are 15 bullhorns on the wall in the place that he works.
Fair. This is probably not the first time this has happened.
Yeah.
This Springfield should either, like, store their bullhorns in separate locations or buy soundproof glass.
If you collect all 15 bullhorns, true power will flow through you.
It does sound like a fetch quest, you're right. I also do really appreciate even Maggie was annoyed by the ringing, though, because once it stops, she pulls out a couple of pacifiers from her ears. But Bart acknowledges his punishment from Marge and Homer. I know, I'll go to my room and think about what I did.
Oh no, your room is full of toys. You're going to the garage.
You're the boss.
I tell you, Chief, I just don't know what we're going to do with him.
And honestly, this next little bit is a background joke that I'm going to say, I usually say a line for my favorite joke, but this background joke is my favorite thing in this episode. I think it is so fucking perfect and so fucking just like exactly what Bart would do. Because Wiggum starts to explain, like, they do have options, and through the back window while Wiggum's talking about what the Simpsons could do for Bart, we see Bart has, since he was sent to the garage, he is now riding down the street on the riding lawnmower, and we see him taking off towards the Flanders home, just going that direction.
Well, what I think is kind of funny, and I'm sure you'll want to talk more about, is that Wiggum says that they have behavior-modifying drugs, which he's against the illegal type of drugs, but the ones that are probably much more harmful to you and alter your state of being, those are totally okay.
Yeah, Wiggum's kind of an asshole in this episode, but he very much represents the U.S. government.
Oh, shots fired.
I do love, though, yeah, for example, we've got behavior-modifying drugs. How wedded are you to the Bart you know?
Not very.
But Marge has a different opinion than Homer. She immediately protests that no drugs, they just need discipline. So Wiggum actually suggests military school, and he has a brother that actually went to military school, and now he operates a famous cave, so true success story.
Honestly, like, I remember when I first saw this episode happening, and I was like, no, Bart, but then I was like, honestly, it's probably good for him. Like, it's a good idea. It honestly is for Bart.
Meh.
Of course you'd say that.
I'm a fun uncle type, not a parent, so I would be on that riding lawnmower with Bart. And that's the best part of this whole gag, is because at the end of this conversation, as they're deciding, you know, should they do military school or not, Bart is now seen riding back the other direction on the riding lawnmower, followed by like 6 police cars, which is essentially like as many that were chasing his mom in that Thelma and Louise episode.
And they'll kind of have a little bit of a callback to this joke in a little bit too, which I enjoy.
Very much so. So they decide, yeah, okay, maybe this is a good idea for Bart, but they know that he's not going to cooperate, so they tell him that they're going to Disneyland, and Bart and Lisa excitedly get into the vehicle, but it kind of, like, they notice pretty quickly, like, wait a second, you guys didn't pack anything. And as the car pulls away, we actually see it shows behind the car, sitting there having a little picnic for 2, complete with a bottle of champagne, was the newly found couple this season, Edna Krabappel and Seymour Skinner, toasting and celebrating this day as they've been waiting for it for so long.
One Krabappel, you dream about this day for so long, then when it comes, you don't know what to say.
Edna, your tears say more than words ever could. Clink. Bart is obviously not into this idea at all, and he's even mad because he says that they lied to him.
Well, I'm sorry if you heard Disneyland, but I distinctly said military school.
I mean, they do sound very similar. You can see how that mistake could be made.
Absolutely.
We see the car heads into Rommelwood Military Academy. It's got a long, winding driveway where we can see groups of cadets marching in formation and all together just being, disciplined young people in military school clothing. It's a military school. You've seen them. Great descriptive
words there.
I'm really a wordsmith painting a picture.
Did you say Disneyland?
Yeah. Diznee. So we have Marge and the family meet just this character known as Commandment.
Yeah.
Well, it was certainly nice of you to accept Bart in the middle of a semester.
Fortunately, we've had a couple of recent freakouts, so that freed up a couple of bunks.
Freakouts? If that happens, are we still charged for the entire semester?
It's already mid-semester. Well, no, it's 2 semesters in a year. Never mind. Disregard that statement.
So it needs to be said that the Commandment is actually a special guest star providing a voice once again for The Simpsons. And I honestly, I had to, double confirm this just because it does not sound like him at all. But he is a very talented actor, and he was able to make a very, very believable military commandment voice. But this is Willem Dafoe, y'all, from, Boondock Saints and, Spider-Man as the Green Goblin fame and, all those other movies he did.
I honestly, completely forgot that he was the guest in this. It blew me away when I saw his name in my guidebook before I watched the episode. And then when I was watching the episode, I was just no one, I'm usually great with guest stars and knowing who they are without knowing who they are. And there was only 2 or 3 points where he sounded like Dafoe on things he said. But all the other times I was he's just doing a really great job, I guess, because it sounds nothing like him.
Dude, I have to be honest, there's at least a small part of me that was ruined when he did that commercial where he's in the when he's in the elevator and he just says, Dafoe! Dafoe! I can't not hear that now when I see him or hear him. I've got a really fun story about the voice recording session for Willem Dafoe, Rich, but I'm going to make you wait for it. We're going to talk about that in the third act.
You tease.
So, but it's a good one, and it involves another celebrity as well, so it's going to be a good time. For now, we see that Bart is very much against this school and everything it stands for, but you can kind of notice that Lisa has a lot that she admires about what's happening in front of her. She sees the discipline that all the students have, and she actually finds that, respectable, and she sees them talking about poetry in a very, very authoritarian manner.
But before that, when she's admiring them, Homer tests it out by throwing rocks at them.
Oh my god, yes, yeah. They mentioned that they're like the guards from, where does she say? Oh my god.
It's not Buckingham Palace, is it?
No, I think it was terracotta or something like that. But
yes, she's talking about the terracotta army, and Homer's yeah.
They don't look so disciplined. And even the commandment is they're just children, sir.
Which that's bad if you can't even get the commandment to be with you.
But again, Lisa is just admiring what she sees, and Bart is terrified. That's really all you need to know. And Homer is an asshole, but in a funny way.
Sure, throwing rocks at kids is funny.
I thought so. We even see that there's a poetry lesson happening, and Lisa is on the fence of being jealous, I would argue here, because one of the cadets says, "Truth is beauty. Beauty is truth, sir."
They're discussing poetry. Oh, they never do that at my school.
But the truth can be harsh and disturbing. How can that be considered beautiful?
Well, they sure sucked the fun out of that poem.
I do love how just militarian they made poetry. So we actually see that Bart is in total beg mode. He actually is clutching to his father's leg and begging him, saying he'll do anything, including finding religion and being good sometimes.
Let go of my leg.
Son, for the last time, you're staying at military school.
And so am I.
And Lisa says this is the school that has everything she's ever wanted.
Lisa, no! This place is just a jail for children.
The truth comes out, and Bart proclaims, no jail can hold me. But as soon as he takes off running, he's almost immediately returned by the military police just a few seconds later.
In the callback to the joke from earlier, which we referenced.
And that brings us to the end of our first act. We are going to take a very quick break, and we'll be right back for part 2 of the Secret War of Lisa Simpson. Hi, I'm Mr. Most Days Off. You might remember me from such podcasts as the 50th Podcast Celebration Show and the Michael Price interview. I brought a friend along today to talk to you about an exciting new product.
Hi, everybody!
Hi, Richie the Whiz Kid.
Miles, did you know that most people don't know where to get cool pop culture shirts?
I had no idea.
If you go to popthreads.com, you'll find a great selection of t-shirts, and if you use the discount code Simpsons, you could save 15% on your order. And that's good news for everybody!
That is good news for everybody.
And did you know the shirts are also inflammable?
Richie, that means they catch on fire.
I had no idea!
Help support the Best Darn Diddly Review Show by using our discount code Simpsons at popthreads.com. And do try to stay away from open flames.
Bye, everybody.
We open up our second act and see the commandant, not commandment, as I've been saying all throughout the first act. Honestly, I've been reading that word as commandment every time it comes up in the script. It's just, I guess, been tricking my mind, but it very clearly says commandant, which I don't know if that's like just the name for the head of a military school or like what that is, to be honest.
Well, commandment number 1 is that you shall call him commandant, but I said it too, so we're all on the same page here.
So, commandant is going over some things, and he's trying to understand. He even says, let's go over this one more time, just to make sure I understand the situation. You're a girl.
Yes?
Oh, gosh darn it, I just don't understand this situation. You're a girl?
All I want is the chance to prove myself.
In our 185 years, we have never had a female cadet. But that seems to be the way the wind is blowing these days. After all, we have female singers, female motorists. Welcome aboard.
Oh my gosh. And the sad part is, this is another situation where this little speech can be applied to today, I feel like, in some regards, and it's awful.
Dude, it's this year, Saudi Arabia, was it? Got the, like, females are driving for the first time. I mean, like, yeah, we still have some very backwards things happening throughout the world and the United States.
Oh, the sadness is what makes it funny.
Marge is still trying to pretty much talk Lisa out of it. She's determined, though, but Marge is giving her an easy out and says, if you want to leave, you just say the word and we will be here in a jiff. Bart, who pokes his head into frame immediately, is like, I want to quit and come home. I want to quit and come home. As the family
honey,
is just driving
I heard
away.
you the first time.
It's terrible. Like, yeah, I kind of feel for Bart, but you can tell they just had to make that callous decision.
Well, I mean, and it's already working. Like, he's terrified right now.
Things are not going to get any easier yet for either of them, really. The commandant calls a 10 hut to get the cadets all up in formation and explains that now that there's a girl in the ranks, there's going to be a few changes here. The commandant even says, first of all, Franklin, you are no longer the girliest cadet here.
Well, we'll see about that.
It's a very effeminate boy, but Lisa is now the first official female cadet in the ranks here, so he's actually making this the girls' barracks, which, in a weird way, I mean, like, it's such a big barrack, and then when you see Lisa is in it all by herself, like, that's gonna make it even more lonely.
Yeah, exactly. But also, he's sending all of the boys over to Company L.
Company L? But they smell!
Yes, we've all heard the chant. Now fall out!
Lisa is like apologizing as they're all very clearly pissed at her. Sorry, I know we're gonna be friends. Talk about getting off on the wrong foot.
And this is where I'm gonna start throwing this out there again, that like, I feel like they really, I know they're supposed to be isolating Lisa and making her feel lonely, but she's freaking 8. And even Bart, who's 10, looks way younger than the rest of these boys. So like, I mean, I'm sorry, when I was like 12, I knew if I was like playing with my neighbors and one of them was 8, I know to go easier on that child. But they do not hold back on Lisa.
They don't. I realized I completely skipped over something from IMDb that I wanted to talk about because I thought it was really interesting in a very South Park-y sort of way. There is a brief scene while the commandant is first talking to Lisa while they're trying to go through the explanation of him understanding like she's a girl, but also wants to be in his academy. There was actually an animation error that was corrected on the Friday before the episode's air date on May 16th, 1997, like very much in the nick of time. And basically to fix it, they just had to quickly animate a couple of shots of Lisa blinking. But as the episode cuts back from the commandant to Lisa, that shot that Lisa is just blankly staring and blinking, that shot was done in just a couple of days and the very last minute.
Oof, I bet that took a couple hours to do, too.
Yeah, I would say so, for sure. But that's why it... Honestly, I didn't notice until I read, but they talk on the commentary about it feeling a little bit out of place there, too.
The next time I see this episode, I'm going to have to make sure I pay attention to that, because I never would have known if you hadn't said anything.
For sure, yeah. We hear the displaced cadets bitching about their new classmate, and they decide, you know what? That's what the time-honored tradition of hazing is for. And to be fair, they are picking on both Bart and Lisa at first. They're forced to go out in the mud in the rain and do push-ups. I do like this interaction with the leader of the cadets, basically. What's the matter? Don't girls like doing push-ups in the mud?
Is there any answer that I can give that won't result in more push-ups?
The leader talks with some of his cadets.
That's
No! And, of course, the hazing also includes having to clean things with their toothbrush. In this case, they're actually cleaning graffiti off, which is something that goes entirely against Bart's nature.
Poor Jebediah Springfield.
But this is kind of fun here. It's a guy on a horse, and it's like the leader of their school. It's Rommelsfeld, or whatever their school is called. But as Bart is kind of like breaking down, Lisa is actually the voice of encouragement that keeps him going. And she explains the social order rights a passage, and that if he just toughs it out, they're going to take him into the fold. And it's really a cool moment between brother and sister that sets up the ending, like the emotion, the heart that we always talk about on this show. Because you can kind of see there's a transition where Bart does actually respond positively and like he's remotivated to keep trying. And the sad thing, of course, is knowing what we know, Lisa expects that for herself, and we know that Bart is going to get that traditional path, but Lisa is going to remain on the outside.
What I find disheartening in this scene is that they go over the history of Rommelwood, where the commander said, "I'll die before I surrender, Tim." And then you find out that like he immediately got killed after saying that.
He was right. Oh, and one of the cadets that's hazing him gets mad at him for talking and is like, "Get back to work. I want to see my face in that horse's ass." We then see the cadets look like they're prepping a plane for takeoff. There's a lot of them, and as the engines cut, though, you can see that Bart and Lisa were actually taped or strapped to the propellers, so they were being spun around a lot.
Yeah. I guess they got a little bit of that Homer, and I'm not going to get hurt mentality in them right now.
And this was the moment that Lisa had been waiting for, because instantly after they've got their spin treatment, they decide, you know what, they've had enough. And you can see first they take Bart down and they actually lift him up on their shoulders and, really welcome him into the group. and then they just walk away, leaving Lisa strapped and even more isolated than ever, as she was supposed to now get this ritualistic acceptance, and she realizes, oh, that's not coming for me.
And I think they did this in a smart way from an animation standpoint, because they carry Bart off on their shoulders, where like Bart can turn around and look at her, but like he's incapable of stopping to walk back and help her.
Yeah, he's being led out mostly against his control at this point.
Exactly. Where, I mean, you still feel like he should say something and do something, but like you kind of, it makes more sense from a logic standpoint than if he was walking on the ground, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart observation for sure.
Thank you.
So, military school is actually something that Bart is finding himself to be a natural at. In fact, right off the bat, he goes to the gun range, and the range master is like, well, since you attended public school, I'm going to assume that you're already proficient with small arms. So we'll start you off with something a little more advanced. And we see Bart starts with a flamethrower. Now, once again, we'll mention that this episode came out in May of 1997, so just slightly short of 2 years of Columbine, which definitely changed the tone of the nation when it came to school shooting jokes. All of mine have bombed.
Oh, Miles.
I couldn't resist even knowing that one's just going to get groans. Like, you know what? Your groans are just as good as laughter to me. It's fine.
Yeah, feed you, Seymour. Do we have to do another, like, best darn diddly reviews are not expressed by Miles again?
So Bart starts out with a grenade launcher and immediately gets good marks because he hits 4 out of 5 of his targets, but the last one was oddly off the mark, just shooting off into the distance. The range master congratulates him, but is saying, you did miss your last target.
Did I?
And we cut over to Springfield Elementary parking lot, where Skinner is standing next to a smoking crater, which very clearly used to be his car.
Bart even had the timing down on that. He would be proficient in the military.
Well, not only did he have the timing down for Skinner to be at his car in that moment, but also for Nelson to be watching from the second-story window. Lisa, unfortunately, is not having nearly as much luck. So not only is she getting hazed by the rest of the cadets, she can't handle a weapon, and she got her rifle stuck in automatic mode, and it's basically propelling her all over the place, which honestly just looks hella dangerous. Like, she could easily kill everyone there.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. I've always thought that since I first saw this episode.
I do love this next joke. It's so brutally mean, but it's also really, really funny. The range master comes up, takes the gun from her, rightfully so, and hands her a whistle. Maybe you should just learn to use this. If there's a war, just blow on it, and I'll come help you.
Oh.
Very demeaning, of course, but again, this is all about making Lisa just feeling so alone and so inferior, and still having the nuts to stay in military school, because she, again, can leave at any time. She's not there against her will like Bart is.
I see what you did there with the nut statement.
That night, she makes the phone call, though, but she constantly reassures herself, I am just calling home. I am not asking to come home. And that's good, because the phone keeps ringing off the hook at the Simpson home as Homer is laying on the couch with his feet directly next to where the phone is, but he's calling for Marge and even Santa's little helper to answer the phone for him, and then he picks up the remote control and is like, oh, there's got to be something on this for the phone.
Is there a thing on this thing for that thing?
Which is really funny now in 2019, where all of that would be on the smartphone. Like, people have their remote controls programmed into their smartphone, and they obviously do phone calls, if you didn't know.
What? But it seems to get the phone to stop ringing.
Yeah, it sure does. But the phone just rings until it stops, so with no one else to call, Lisa calls her grandfather at the nursing home, and he is so excited. He says, hot diggity! I don't even care if it's bad news!
Oh, Grandpa, you're not busy, are you?
Well, you're really asking 2 questions there. The first one takes me back to 1934. Admiral Byrd had just reached the pole, only hours ahead of the Three Stooges. And I guess he won the argument, but I walked away with the turnips. The following morning, I resigned my commission in the Coast Guard. The next thing I heard, there was civil war in Spain.
No.
And that's everything that happened in my life right up to the time I got this phone call.
Uh-huh. So, anything else you want to talk about?
I'm afraid I'd just be repeating myself, honey. Anyway, other people need to use the phone. And Grandpa offers the phone to all of the other residents, and they're shaking their hands like, no, no.
I already talked to her for 20 damn minutes.
Jasper is not having it.
But it's super funny because, grandparents always want to talk on the phone, and it's funny that
It's kind of their thing, right?
Lisa has outlasted the entire Springfield retirement castle because she's too afraid to get back to her life.
Well, and that's how lonely she is as well.
Yeah, which I thought it's such a great idea for her to call Grandpa to talk about military school, but she never actually talks to him about military school.
I mean, he
would be the one to help her.
He was in the military. He might know a thing or two.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. But later that night, Lisa walks away, and she's obviously sad. She really wanted to keep talking, but she actually realizes that she has a package from her mom and dad, and she wants to go and see if Bart wants to open it together. Bart has to explain to her, though, that he'd like to, but it's really not a good time, and when the leader from inside starts yelling out, "Hey, who are you talking to?" Lisa! You're talking to Lisa!
I'm talking to... no one.
Slam.
And which I gotta say that she's really lucky Bart's the one that answered the door when she went and knocked on the barracks. That was a huge risk.
It's 1 in 15 chance?
Yeah.
I like this little bit here, too. The commandant comes in and orders lights out, but he's too far inside the barracks, so he keeps bumping into things. So he has to order lights on again so he can leave, and then lights on,
out. Lights on! Lights out. And Lisa leaves her light on the whole time while she's reading the note, which I think that's breaking the rules.
Yeah, it is. I also noticed her light stayed on after lights out. But of course, we needed her to be able to hear this cassette from her mom, and it was really sweet. Of course, it's from Marge. "Don't worry, sweetie. It's very common to be homesick when you're so far away from the people who love you."
Okay, I'm not going to give up. Solitude never hurt anyone. Emily Dickinson lived alone, and she wrote some of the most beautiful poetry the world has ever known. Then went crazy as a loon.
And didn't she kill herself, too?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that happened.
I was wondering if that was until she killed herself and they had to change it to crazy as a loon, maybe. I'm speculating on that one. But that felt maybe too that's what Merkin would have done. We hear...
No, he would have actually seen her head showing that it actually happened.
Yeah. We see Lisa fast forward the tape until a portion with Marge actually singing to her. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, just how much I love you. So don't take my sunshine away."
And they do a really, honestly, kind of a beautiful little moment here where it's panning out of her barracks, and then it keeps panning out where you can see Bart looking out his window towards her barracks. And it kind of seems like that he can hear it, even though he shouldn't be able to. But it's a really cool shot, I think.
I would agree, and it's a very emotional moment. You can really see everything just kind of piling up on Lisa, and... Again, I can't stress enough, she can leave at any time, is the thing. Yeah. So she's the one that is trying to challenge herself to accomplish this goal. And that moment is actually where they leave us at the end of Act 2. We are going to take another quick break and be back for the conclusion of the Secret War of Lisa Simpson.
Okay, Mr. Most Days Off, now we're ready for the TeePublic ad.
Head over to tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly right now to support our show. Get yourself some Best Darn Diddly merchandise and help grow our podcast. I messed up there. Can I get another take?
Okay, just a second. Out of the way, amateur. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to patreon.com/bestdarndiddly. Go to popthreads.com and save 15% with the discount code Simpsons. Hey, it's Krusty. Go to bestdarndiddly.com to get all your podcast needs from the greatest show on earth. Learn from a professional, kid. All right, Krusty. We're ready for your take. Krusty?
We come back for our final act, and Bart is trying to make up to Lisa for, slamming the door on her the night before. He even apologizes. He says, "I'm really sorry I froze you out, Lisa. I just didn't want the guys to think I'd gone soft on the girl issue."
I'm tired of being an issue, Bart. Maybe everyone would be better off if I just quit.
But if you quit, it'll be like an expert knot tyer quitting a knot tying contest right in the middle of tying a knot.
Why'd you say that?
I don't know. I was looking at my shoelaces. But the point is, you're going to make it, Lise, and I'm going to stick with you.
Don't do that. Why should we both be outcasts?
Then I'll just stick by you in secret. Like a sock maker secretly working on a top secret sock that...
Will you stop looking at your feet?
Later at an assembly, we see the commandant telling his cadets it's been a long year and he's proud at how hard they have all worked on their academic skills and general killing skills.
My killing teacher says I'm a natural.
Bart says that to Lisa. But these skills are nothing without courage and stamina. Traditionally, the Academy tested these virtues by pitting you against each other in a 2-day battle royale. That was prior to 1957. Thank you very much, State Supreme Court. Consequently now, no cadet can receive a passing grade for the academic year without first conquering this. And he gestures towards a giant overgrown field of thorny bushes with 2 posts on either end and a single rope connecting those points.
Oof.
Meet the Eliminator. That's a 150-foot hand-over-hand crawl across a 60-gauge hemp jute line with a blister factor of 12. The rope is suspended a full 40 feet over a solid British acre of old-growth Connecticut Valley thorn bushes. Gentlemen, welcome to Flavor Country.
This wasn't in the brochure.
Which, interesting enough, that last line, "Gentlemen, welcome to Flavor Country," was actually the slogan for Marlboro cigarettes, either before or possibly even at that time that this episode came out.
Yeah, probably would have been right around that time.
Yeah, just a weird little line to end it on, but, they probably needed something, and, Schwartzwelder went to smoke, so they're like, "Oh, he's headed to Flavor. That'll fit here." So at lunch, we see Lisa once again alone and eating by herself, and Bart slips a note by her, letting her know that she should meet him at the Eliminator after lights out, and also, P.S., the cadets are planning to throw their meatballs at you.
Oh.
She raises up her lunch tray just in time for a bombardment of meatballs.
Which, Bart's helping her at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
She did not get hit.
She shielded herself because of the,
Captain America-like prowess, or goalie-like prowess from her hockey days.
There you go. I love it. So that night, we see Lisa is getting some secret practice and coaching from Bart, who's trying to help her learn how to get across, but Lisa is just not having it. She says she can't do it, that she's not strong enough, and she actually falls, and there's this really cool little shot. I love the animation here, where you have the background getting closer. It's Lisa falling into the thorn pit, but at the last moment, she swings to safety because Bart had rigged up a second rope as essentially a safety line for her and brings her over away from the thorn so she doesn't get all scratched up.
This is really smart for Bart. He really thought this out, and I'm really, really proud of him. Maybe military school is working for him.
Yeah. And this is also the moment where, their roles kind of flip. There'll be the big step-up moment for Bart a little bit later, but this is where you can kind of see their roles have turned, because Lisa is about ready to give up. She disclaims that she's not strong enough to do it.
I thought you came here looking for a challenge.
Duh, a challenge I could do. I do love that line. I think a lot of us feel that way often.
But it's very fitting for her. It's a good summation of Lisa for this episode. She wanted to be challenged, but she still wants to be like the straight A student all at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. She still wants to be the top of her class.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of a close call with the other cadets here. We hear 3 of the boys coming in, or walking by, I should say. They're dressed in street clothes, actually, clearly sneaking back into, the school. But they're talking about how, like, that corn was totally worth it.
It's the little things in life, Miles.
Bart has actually hoisted Lisa up on that rope at this point, hiding her from view, but they start to question why Bart is there. But Bart, again, with a little bit of savvy, flips the question on him and is like, well, why are you guys here?
Nothing.
They basically all agree they're all doing nothing so that they can, like, kind of leave without talking about it.
It's a whole lot of nothing going around.
Exactly. Nothing at all to see here. And when we look up to see what's going on with Lisa, she's quietly being like, bees. Because she's hoisted directly next to a beehive and she's being swarmed. Bart lets go and she falls with a thud.
Oh.
IMDb points out that one of the boys in these 3, while they're in street clothes, is dressed in James Dean's iconic red jacket and blue jeans look from Rebel Without a Cause.
Oh.
And also, that is the same look that inspires what Fry from Futurama wears, which of course was also made by Matt Groening.
Very interesting.
So I think that James Dean was something that he's just a fan of.
I've never really pictured Fry as James Dean, but like it's so obvious once you know that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too once it was pointed out. So it's time for the big day, the final test. It's Eliminator Day, and the commandant has a policy change to announce.
Again. Gentlemen, I regret to inform you that the State Supreme Court has determined that forcing cadets to cross the Eliminator is a barbaric and malicious practice.
Yes!
Hence, you will be the last class to be subjected to it.
Oh, man, so close, so close. So close. The commandment begins in alphabetical order, having the kids climb across the rope, and we quickly flash all the way to Bart Simpson, who gets a "Good job, Simpson," although that is more cursing than I like to hear from a cadet in peacetime. Another one of my favorite lines, for sure.
Next up, Simpson, Lisa.
And everybody actually goes silent, and one of the boys pulls out a bugle and plays taps, which is just cruel and more mean stuff for her. But Lisa climbs up and hoists to the rope, no problem, and she's actually just happy as they're heckling her. She's like, well, at least they're talking to me.
She's even like too short for the rope almost. Like she had to actually like scale up the pole to grab it, so she doesn't.
And she's 8 years old.
Yes, I can't say that enough.
Cannot stress this enough. And they're atop some, like, very sharp, like, thorn needles, which if you fell in the middle of that, that would be like a saw trap getting out of it.
Like, I would never be able to do this. All props to Lisa if she's going to make it.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So, we get a really cool shot here, too, where they really kind of show the tenacity of this, like, challenge, like, and the fierceness of the punishment if you fall. The shot is from the thorn bush, like, looking up at Lisa, and it makes it look like it's forever tall. Lisa's trying to encourage herself. She's talking to herself, saying, if only I were in Springfield, all my friends would be cheering me on. Oh, God, I'm delirious. There's a moment where her hand slips, and she starts to fall. The cadets all start cheering, drop, drop, drop! But this is Bart's big moment. As the other cadets discourage Lisa, he literally takes a step forward and starts to encourage his sister.
You can make it, Lisa. I know you can. Come on, I know you can do it. Just get your hands back on the rope. Just a little further.
And that's exactly what she does. She gets her hands back up. She makes it to the next platform. She climbs down with her arms raised in victory, And Bart is the first to congratulate her.
Well, to explain that a little bit further, too, Bart is still encouraging her, and you can see the change on her face, too, when she starts hearing what Bart's saying. But, like, the other cadets actually start grabbing Bart to silence him, and he pushes them off and comes forward even more so he can be louder. And again, this is all about Lisa conquering this, but, like, it was good to see Bart finally, like, they try to silence him, where in the past he's gone along with it, but this time he's like, no, I need to help her.
Yeah, he fights for his sister, literally, in this case. And again, he's the first. She comes down the ladder, once again, with her arms raised in victory, very much like Johnny Drama from Entourage. Victory! But Bart tells her, Lisa, it's over. You made it. You can put your arms down.
I can't. They're stuck.
But just then, the cadets show up and grab Bart.
We're going to make your life a living hell for the rest of the semester.
But graduation's in 3 hours.
We'd better go change.
So that was an easy hazing. The commandant once again addresses his graduating class. The wars of the future will not be fought on the battlefield or at sea. They will be fought in space or possibly on top of a very tall mountain. In either case, most of the actual fighting will be done by small robots. And as you go forth today, remember, always your duty is clear. To build and maintain those robots. Thank you.
He's basically right.
Yeah, honestly, that's what the military is going to be for sure.
I mean, it's kind of already down that path.
Drone warfare.
Yeah. Like, it's props, Commandant.
We see the cadets throw their hats into the air and celebrate, and Marge and Homer collect both of the Simpsons kids who are very anxious and excited to come home. Homer is a little bit nervous now around Bart because he's asking, well, son, did you return all of the guns?
Sir, yes, sir. Luckily, I am now trained in 6 additional forms of unarmed combat, sir.
Well, he seems to have gotten more confidence.
Yeah. I've always said that the boy could use more confidence.
We see the commandant had awarded Lisa with a well-deserved medal for satisfactory completion of the 2nd grade, and he gets a salute from her. Lisa returns the salute and actually legitimately does admire the medal, because while the satisfactory completion of the 2nd grade might not sound like much, for Lisa, it really, really was something.
Yeah.
Though, this episode, even in the already complicated time-lapsed world of The Simpsons, really makes you wonder what the fucking timeline of this episode is. Like, was this an entire semester at school? Like, was this a month? Like, how much time did they actually serve in this prison for children?
It was a semester, because I thought they said in the middle of the year, so it's probably 1 semester.
It's crazy to think about, though. Like, most episodes take place in, like, a day or even a few hours. But, yeah, this is just all over the place. Either way, Homer and Marge are so proud of the Simpsons kids that they're going to take them to Disneyland for real this time.
Yay!
And Bart and Lisa are devastated to once again be tricked as they pull up to the dentist.
Oh.
Bart even gives an exclamation much like his father would. Dough!
Better luck next year, kids.
And that's actually our blackout line, our final moment of the 8th season of The Simpsons. That brings us to the end of the secret war of Lisa Simpson. Richie, is there anything else that you or that book of yours want to talk about?
My guidebook, The Simpsons, a complete guide to our favorite family, does point out the motto of the Rommelwood School, which was a tradition of heritage, which just kind of makes me giggle a little bit there, because, yeah, gotcha. I want to point out that in the final scene there, they're loading up all their stuff into the car to leave, and Bart and Lisa are in full military uniform. Yet, in the very next scene, when they're pulling up to the dentist office, they are in their street clothes. I assumed that they just got in the car after they packed the car and left, but it was kind of weird seeing them switch back to their old clothes like that, so I don't know. Maybe they must have gone to the changing room and changed back before they left, but it just kind of caught my attention there.
Interesting. Well, I'll also say about this one that both IMDb and a little bit of chatter on the commentary talks about how Lisa's experience was based on the experiences of Shannon Faulkner, who is the first woman admitted to the Citadel Military Academy in South Carolina, which happened in the 90s. And actually had a lot of backlash to it. And according to her testimony, she also experienced a lot of hazing, and a lot of just hardships that, some of the other cadets didn't necessarily have to face through the loneliness and the struggle of being a pioneer and breaking through those boundaries and whatnot.
Huh.
I also feel like that's loosely based on the movie, or I'm sorry, what the movie G.I. Jane is also loosely based on. But that might have been actually in the... no, that was the first female to be a Navy SEAL, now that I remember that. But similar concept in this. It's pioneer women breaking through into largely male fields, or in this case, all male fields that...
military fields?
Yeah, now in 2019, it's kind of crazy to think about that was only the 90s that those battles were being fought.
That's really crazy to think about.
I want to leave on something a little more lighthearted than that. So I teased it earlier when they were recording with Willem Dafoe. They always recorded at the same sound studio, and actually it was a sound studio where several musicians would also record albums and other things of that nature. And the day that they went to record with Willem Dafoe, there was a young music artist that was bald that was known for making electronic music. And he had a video recording device. It was like a camcorder at the time. And basically, he asked permission. He was a recording artist that asked permission to record Willem Dafoe's lines because he was a huge fan of both the show and of Willem Dafoe. They actually agreed to let him do this because that bald young artist was Moby, and it was at the time of his, basically the height of his popularity and, when he was blowing up. And Josh Weinstein remembers really enjoying, they actually chatted, and, he was a really pleasant dude. And one of his biggest regrets is he should have, in that moment, asked Moby to record his own version of the Simpsons theme song.
That would have been so cool.
Didn't do it, and he wished that he has. But just a fun crossover where Moby was a fan of the Simpsons and of Willem Dafoe, found out they were recording there, stayed late from his own recording, and actually has, somewhere in the world, Moby has some hand cam footage of Willem Dafoe recording lines for the Simpsons.
Which, of course, we all know in the future he would go to become the dean of Greendale Community College.
Exactly. Guys, that's going to do it for this week's Best Darn Diddly Review Show. As always, I cannot thank each and every one of you that are listening to this enough. We appreciate the support just by you hitting that download button. And of course, if you want to support us in other ways, you can shop at popthreads.com with the discount code Simpsons. You can visit our TeePublic store /bestdarndiddly. And I am going to be updating the Patreon rewards for the holidays, so tune into that soon.
Don't forget to follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. You can follow me at TheWiz_Kid23. And most importantly, make sure you follow the show at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
And guys, I can't thank you enough, again, all of you that download. This is the last episode of Season 8, so this is it for our reviews of Season 8. But we will be back again next week with the Season 8 finale spectacular.
Spectacular! So we're not gonna quit. Just like an expert knot tyer quitting a knot tying contest right in the middle of tying a knot.
And until next time... Richie, quit looking at your shoes.
I like that.